Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tinsley Garris, and I'm the president at the Northbrook Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to our program today, which is all about accessing business resources through the Cook County Bureau of Economic Development. A big thank you to the staff over at Cook County Commissioner Scott Britton's office for helping us organize it, and for Irene Shear for being here with us today. Julie, why don't you go ahead and kick the program off?
Thank you so much, Tinsley, and thank you everyone for joining us today. Good morning. First and foremost, I want to apologize on behalf of Commissioner Britton, who regrets being unable to join all of us today. As you may know, he's undergoing treatment for his health and is grateful that we are all able to continue this important work. My name is Julie Caviar, and I am his Chief of Staff. Commissioner Britton knows what a difficult year this has been. That's why he's worked so hard to ensure that millions of dollars in Cook County Recovery Community Funds went to our local communities right here in District 14. Nearly $2.5 million in grants, technical assistance, and advising services went to hundreds of businesses and independent contractors right here in the 14th District. Another almost $1 million went to hundreds of families for emergency mortgage and rental assistance, direct cash assistance, food assistance, and emergency shelter assistance in District 14 throughout the pandemic. He's also talked to dozens of business owners through his small business town halls, visits with business corridors, and tours of independent retailers to listen and learn about what is needed to help our communities thrive. So thank you for joining us today to continue that important dialogue. Cook County is now embarking on an extensive multi-year process for using $1 billion in federal American Rescue Plan Act dollars allocated to this county, as are municipalities across the 14th District and the county who also receive millions in direct funds. There will be an opportunity after this presentation to share your thoughts, and if you have any other insights and ideas how to best utilize these funds, please do not hesitate to reach out to Commissioner Britton's office, myself, Barb, and Liz, who are on the line today. Our contact information can be found at our website, www.commissionerscottbritton.com. We are so grateful to be joined today by Irene Shear. She's the Deputy Bureau Chief of Economic Development, to present about Cook County resources for small businesses. She's a passionate leader, city planner, and community development expert at Cook County, who directs all of our strategic business and economic development initiatives. She has decades of experience leading regional development initiatives, such as the county's manufacturing agenda, sector strategies, including the Chicago Metro Metal Consortium and the Metro Chicago Exports and Streamlined Trucking Permitting. She does talent solutions and small business support programs with focus on advancing equity across suburban Cook County. So Irene, thank you so much for joining us today. We look forward to your presentation, and we'll take any questions at the end. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that nice introduction. Hearing it makes me realize I have to update a few things, but thank you for that. And just wanted to say I have a brief presentation that I'm going to share. But one thing I wondered if it's not too much of a variation from the agenda would be, I'd love to know what each type of business people own. And so I wondered if maybe just in the chat, if each of you could just put your names and your business affiliation, and you know, if it's retail, professional service, whatever it is, that would be good to know. So thank you for that, and happy to be here. First, what I thought I'd do is just introduce you to the Bureau of Economic Development, because I don't know if everybody is aware of it. Within the county, it's a relatively younger bureau. It was created by President Preckwinkle when she first came into office. It includes 4 departments. One is what we call the Office of Economic Development, which is where I sit, which does more of the regional, bigger picture planning policy work. There's the Department of Planning and Development, which is where most of our federal entitlement dollars go. That's community development block grant funds, affordable housing work, social service agency support. And then there's the Building and Zoning Department and ZBA, which really focus mostly on unincorporated Cook. So to the extent that there is 5% of all of Cook County, 110,000 people that are not part of any existing municipality, Cook County provides all kinds of services for those areas, and we provide the Building and Zoning Board of Appeal functions for that. So that's kind of just at a high level. So small business is actually something, support for small business is a relatively new area of focus for the county. And COVID came along, and that really challenged us to think about what is the best role for the county in terms of small business development. And so we've had an opportunity to work with a consulting firm called Next Street, which does mission-driven consulting all over the country around small businesses. And we had a working group that included some of the county board commissioners, members of our Economic Development Advisory Committee, and members of the presidents of the givers. And we went through, Next Street did an assessment of the small business ecosystem. And so coming out of that, we've identified 3 roles for the county. One is we see ourselves as a champion and a convener for small businesses. So we become a champion. We have a small business website, Cook County smallbiz.info, which you can go to, which features webinars, toolkits, whatever the latest grant or funding opportunity is, information like that. And we hope to continue to build that out. We have provided significant resources, as Julie mentioned in the intro, to support many of the small business service organizations throughout the region. And then we also are an investor. So the county used its CARES funding to provide a lot of support to small businesses and business service organizations. And then lastly, the county is a customer. The county buys all kinds of goods and services from businesses in the region. And we want to look at that as an opportunity in terms of how to build a more inclusive procurement process and program, make sure that small businesses have an opportunity to bid on some of the county's opportunities, and also help businesses know whether it's a good opportunity for them or not. And if the county isn't the right place, maybe there's smaller entities and governments and that they could approach. So when we did our assessment, one of the things we discovered, and many of you may know this just based on your own experience, that there are a lot of resources in their downtown. I mean, the bigger, larger, more established, what we call business service organizations are located downtown. Now, many of them serve the whole region, but they are physically downtown. And many business service organizations, as we call them, offer general services, and a subset of them have more specific needs. And one of the things we wanted to do as Cook County is try to increase the availability and capacity of services in suburban Cook. And I probably should have said this in the beginning, but we tend to focus our work. It's not exclusively suburban, but largely suburban Cook. The city of Chicago, anytime we get federal money, they get it too, but they get 10 times as much or 7 times as much. I'm not exaggerating. So one of our objectives is to increase the capacity of organizations that serve Cook County And we are also building a network just to share best practices and resources to help make more available to businesses regardless of where they're based. So another thing that we have been doing is just trying to get a handle around the whole ecosystem of what's out there and have people work together. So our network that we have, that we use to execute all of our CARES funding program, received a fair amount of philanthropic funding, at least for the county, more than we usually receive. And so there are organizations and foundations committed to supporting the ecosystem. And there are lots of different stakeholders. And so we are continuing to reach out and connect. That's why we're so happy to be here today. And then there's lots of opportunities for more collaboration and networking and sharing of best practices. So the program that we've had to date in 2020, for the most part, featured three key elements: one-on-one business advising, known as technical assistance, and we have an online portal so business can go to the website, enter their name, fill out, answer a few questions, and then they will be connected with one of our partners who will then schedule a meeting or a virtual session to talk about what their needs are. We offer webinars and toolkits. Those are available. The webinars are promoted on the website. The toolkits are available for download. And then capital. During COVID, we had about $17 million that we distributed throughout Suburban Cook for $10,000 grants to 1,780 businesses. So, our impact has been growing. We, at this point, have done individual technical assistance with almost 2,300 businesses at the moment, and that grows. Of the grants and the advising services we did in 2020, the split between businesses owned by people of color and women are, as listed on the slide. We are continuing to focus on connecting to businesses and communities that have been hardest hit by COVID. But as Julie said, there were grants given to businesses probably in every municipality in Cook County. Today, I just want to say for anybody, if they hadn't heard, today is the last day to apply to the state's Back to Business grant program. It's a grant program for businesses that have been adversely impacted by COVID. A business has to be able to demonstrate a reduction in revenue. But if you haven't applied, you have a few and submit. And the county has been part of the state's Community Navigator program. And that is a network they have created across the state of hubs and spokes. And so Cook County is a hub with 10 spokes. Let's see, I think, yeah. We're a hub with 10 spokes, and the spokes include a range of organizations from Women's Business Development Center to Berwyn Development Corporation to Illinois Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. There's 10 groups and they're on our website. So we've been this has been our focus for the last 2 months because that has been the application period. As I said, we do webinars. The next one that's coming up is October 21st at 11, and the focus on that is getting businesses ready for the holidays. And then this just shows you some of the organizations that are in our network. So there are organizations that serve Suburban Cook, organizations that serve both the city and the suburbs. And then there are some organizations that serve just city businesses. Those are not funded with county funds. But what we have been able to do is get philanthropic support to support some of those. And then the result is we've been able to blend our funding sources and serve businesses across the county. So that's something we're not always able to do, but we've been happy to do. And every year, not every year, we select these businesses based on I don't know if it's not really an RFP process, but statements of interest and an application, and individual organizations that apply are then reviewed and evaluated based on their experience, the number of businesses that they typically serve during the year, and a number of other factors. Before I go to that, I guess I just want to say, in terms of the ARPA process, which Julie also mentioned, the county got hundreds of proposals from commissioners and organizations and is going through an extensive review process. Support for small businesses is definitely in there. It came in from multiple sources and many different variations, but we hope to continue to build on the work that we've been doing. So there'll be more information that is available on that as the county's budget process proceeds. I just want to also touch on a couple of other programs that the Bureau offers that might be of interest to small businesses. One is something called CPACE, which is Property Assessed Clean Energy, and it is a financing tool that allows property owners to make all kinds of improvements to advance sustainability to their property and extend the payment for those investments over a long period of time. So you can finance all of it, and it stays with the property. So even if the business happens to leave, whatever the next, take advantage of the savings. And then one more thing that we're about to launch next week, and during this COVID period, there's been so many businesses that have had challenges finding the talent that they need, that we've been working with businesses and have developed something called the Talent Solutions Connector. And we like to say it was by businesses for businesses, but it's an online platform that allows businesses, and they will be connected to a number of resources that are available to assist businesses. And so this might include workforce agencies, community colleges. It will let you know if there's funding available. It's accessible through the link here, and we can probably share this whole deck with everybody after the meeting today, but you can go and play around with it. We really welcome any business's feedback. It's still in somewhat of a beta form, and we're having a launch in the beginning of November. So we hope that is something that businesses find helpful. And lastly, I think probably the program that the county may be best known for in terms of support for businesses is simply the use of tax incentives. And the program is really designed or intended to reactivate vacant buildings and vacant property to get these properties back onto the tax rolls. So what happens is a property owner who meets the eligibility criteria is able to reduce his property taxes for a period of time by about 50%. And the intent of this, of course, is that it's better to be getting some tax revenue versus none from these properties. So there are a couple different classifications, and the county only handles what are considered special circumstances. The bulk of these incentives or tax incentives go through the Cook County Assessor's Office. And then lastly, we are trying to be connected and be available to people. So we have a number of social media channels that we take. These are different links to the different websites and postings and things like that. Open for questions, and I'm just taking a peek now at everybody's business types, which is great to see. So happy to take questions, or could ask you a question. I mean, what types of things?
Question.
Great.
I'll start. I'm sorry, I can't see everybody, but okay.
Here, wait, I'll stop sharing. Here we go.
Okay, thank you. PJ Weiland, I'm a coach in the area, and I work with a lot of small business owners. And the number one concern is truly hiring. Can you speak to what you're doing in that space to help small business owners to be competitive, considering some of the incentives are pretty outlandish when it comes to the larger organizations that they're competing for talent with?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's a huge challenge for businesses now because everybody is looking for talent. So one, if people aren't familiar, there is something called the Chicago Cook Workforce Partnership, and they are the official workforce body for both the city and the county. A lot of the work that they do is focused on helping people find jobs, but they do have people who work specifically with businesses to help them attract the talent they need. And I think some of the challenges depend on the sectors that businesses are in, but it is just a very competitive time. And everybody is kind of keeps upping the minimum pay, and there's some real advantages to that, but it is hard for small businesses, I know, to keep up. I think some of it is just businesses have to be prepared to invest in their teams more than some of them have, because if they want to keep their talent, I think it's hard. I mean, I know there's been a record number of individuals that have started businesses since COVID. I think part of that is many of them are people that were laid off and assessed kind of what they want to do. And I think there's so many variables that affect people's decision that to go back into many work settings, people need to feel that it's going to work for them and their life, their family.
Thank you. I mean, it seems that there's a general sense that folks are being paid to stay home. And that there's so many benefits from staying home that the workforce is not attracted to working again right now.
Yeah.
It's a general sense. It's hard for, I have many companies that pass on to the end consumer their rates, and if they can't hire at a reasonable rate, then they can't charge services at a reasonable rate. I mean, so you have this. It's
a cycle, but there are many economists that dispute that characterization of people not wanting to work. And unemployment is over. And I have spent it's challenging, and small businesses do need to they may have to spend more on talent than they're used to, and it may mean their prices go up, but they have to compete against Amazon that's going to offer people $18 an hour and a $500 signing bonus. Otherwise, I don't know it's a challenge. I guess I just think it's a challenge. I know in some sectors like manufacturing and food service, it's been really tough.
I'm just wondering what you guys are doing to support that is helpful.
I think the other thing I think that we try to do is to, as much as we can, introduce to businesses the range of populations that are available for work. I think there may, some settings need to become more hospitable for women or returning citizens, and the people they may need to think more broadly than they have traditionally. I think is one thing we're trying to do, and show people that there's lots of capable people. I think some sectors are looking much more, for example, at competencies versus education. There are models, for example, there's something called the Talent Pipeline Management Tool, where businesses like in healthcare and other cases can do almost a backward supply chain analysis, so they really understand where the best source of talent for them is, and to work and cultivate that. So it depends a little bit what the challenges are that the businesses are having. If they can't find people with the expertise that they need, there are sometimes businesses can work with a community college to help develop the kinds of curriculum that they need to meet their skill requirements.
Irene, I want to make sure that you get to Ed's question, because I know he's got to drop off a little bit early. He's had his hand raised there.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. No worries. Thank you, Tinsley. I appreciate that. So similar to PJ, I work with a lot of business owners, and this sounds great, but the practicality of how do I connect my business owner to a person in the county to make it as efficient as possible? So just, maybe kind of quickly, do they reach out to you? Do they reach out to Julie? Given the fact that they're really busy, how do we make those connections easily and efficiently?
So I would say a couple of things. They could definitely reach out to Julie. They could reach out to me. They can also, and I will put in the chat, the Chicago Cook Workforce Partnership, which is a really good place to start. We tend to work, we are what we call an apprenticeship navigator. So we have worked with companies that are interested in starting apprenticeships. But the Chicago Cook Workforce Partnership has sector specialists for healthcare, retail, things like that. The other thing I would say that is becoming a newer approach is something we call sector partnerships, where businesses in the same sector get together and work together to address what challenges they have. So I did put the Chicago Cook Workforce Partnership link in the chat.
Can you repeat that, Irene? They're working with who?
So there are, for example, there's something called the Healthcare Collaborative. So a lot of the kind of eds and meds institutions, there's been some real shortages in some, physician assistants or, certain categories. So several healthcare organizations have gotten together to talk collectively about how they can solve this problem. They look at the data, for example, this wasn't here, but in another part of the country, they looked at the data and they saw that they thought they were losing all their nurses because of retirement, but they were losing them for other reasons. And so then they started to work together to address some of the needs. The other thing is to look at ways to possibly see if there are barriers that are making it hard for people to apply. I know we've been in situations where we'll ask 5 companies to share their job descriptions for the same position. And they might all have different hiring requirements and have all different educational requirements. And some of them may be important, but not all of them. And so it's just, I think it takes, particularly in this environment where it's very competitive, I think it's important for employers to think about some of these other ways to find people.
So you said we do this. Who's we? Because I'd love to, I mean, I just want to make sure I'm real clear of
okay.
who I send my clients to say you'll sit with them and look through what they're doing and help them assess. Because Julie, I have lots of clients who are just really, really hurting in this space, and there's no place to direct them to.
And what kind are they? Professional.
Non-medical in-home care is a big one. I have many clients in that. Also contractors, whether they be roofers or painters or interior laborers, people who are looking for laborers. And those are probably the 2 biggest ones.
So I would say there is a group called Hire 360, which is focused on the construction and trades groups and is developing programs because that is a sector. There's been a lot of retirement, and that might become a source for some of these companies, for some of your clients. I would say in your situation, I think the best thing would be to contact the Chicago Cook Workforce Partnership. When I say we have worked with groups of manufacturers, let's say, so it really depends, but I know that construction is an area where the partnership is doing a lot of work, but you might want to look at Hire 360 as well.
What legislation, what programs, what are you supporting that is going to change this over the long haul?
That's a really good question. I think what the county is doing in terms of looking at its ARPA funds and things is trying to invest as much as we can in training to help get more people available and adequately skilled to meet the needs that businesses have. And at the same time, our office tends to work more with businesses trying to understand what their needs are, so that we can work with community colleges or training providers to help businesses, get their needs met.
Irene, just to take the conversation in a little bit of a different direction, I guess I just would be remiss if I didn't mention sort of a long-term issue that Cook County, the businesses here in Northbrook have concerns about. Being a border community, the disparity in the way commercial and industrial properties are taxed makes a huge difference. We hear from our commercial realtors that their clients won't even consider a Cook County location. We are constantly presented with letters from Kenosha trying to lure some of our manufacturers and distributors just to not that far north. It's still, they don't quite lose all the employment, just by going up to Kenosha. So I guess
it's a challenge. The Cook County property tax system, the classification system, it is complicated, and it does put us in some cases at a competitive disadvantage. To some extent, that is why the tax incentives were created. And often those are the projects that come before us. Auto dealerships, there are communities that are split right in half between, let's say, DuPage and Cook, and there may be some with Lake and Cook. And, it's a challenge. I know President Preckwinkle is convening and talking to a lot of the stakeholders involved with the property tax situation, because it is such a challenge.
And I would love to just
it seems so crazy that we have to create programs as solutions for problems that we've created, on our very own.
It's Julie.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that, there's lots of, I would just offer that, of course, our doors are always open. We want to be helping folks. We have, it's not Irene's office, of course, the assessor. We can help with, if you have questions about it, we can make connections with the assessor's office so you can actually talk to someone, or with your appeals process. We know the Northfield Township is going through. And more importantly, unfortunately, this is not a passing of the buck. As Irene said, we're trying to do lots of things to, as simply mentioned, fix the landscape that we were given. But property taxes are regulated by the state ultimately. And so we're really proud that the president just announced a budget. We will not be increasing our taxes as so many municipalities may be doing. And so for that, I think that we can all be grateful that our finances have been in order. But if we can help lobby our state legislatures, if we can help make those connections, I think, a group of this size with that experience can really help move the needle there. And this is sadly one of those situations where our hands are tied in that way. But again, we continue to bring the feedback back. We want to be sharing that evidence with the assessor's office. We want to be continuing to make the case, but the property tax landscape will be a long haul. And so I don't want to set the expectation that we can fix it today.
Yeah. And I think, the assessor, if you haven't had him out, he's happy to come out and talk. He is working to make the program or the process more transparent, more rational, more equitable. But it is, I can't say it is an issue. It is a challenge. And I think the most encouraging thing I can say is that I think people are all recognizing that it is a problem, and that, some things need to change. I don't know how we got to the place we are with this kind of very unique arcane structure, which businesses are assessed at twice what residents are. And so it's a tough thing, because it's a closed circle. And if you cut taxes for one person or one type of property use, you have to make it up somewhere else.
Right.
So it's challenging. I guess the other thing that I think over time could help, and it may, is just Illinois has some of the most units of government. And to the extent there are opportunities for consolidation and things like that, I think that can help as well.
Let me take the conversation in a little bit of another direction. In case somebody on the call would like to slip in a last minute application, can you just highlight top line items that they'll need to be able to complete that application?
Sure. Probably the thing that has presented many businesses with challenges is they need to have completed their 2020 income taxes for their business. And if they have not done that, and if they have not experienced a loss in sales as a result of COVID, then I would say they won't be able to apply. The state also has a very complicated prioritization structure. If a business applied to what was called the big grant and did not get it, they are prioritized this go round. If they're in certain sectors like hospitality, again, they get a prioritization. If they're in a disproportionately disinvested area, they get a prioritization. There's actually 32 categories. So, I would encourage somebody, if you have nothing to lose, it's free. I mean, it does take a little time, but I would encourage someone to get it in if they can.
Is the link in the chat box for that?
I will put that in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Just back to the hiring thing, the city and the partnership, the Chicago recently went through something called Hire Chicago, where they did kind of mass hiring events over a period of 5 weeks around different sectors. We are now going to do a set of those for Cook called Recover Cook. And again, it's a tactic to try to help make more connections between employers and employees. So stay tuned for that. There were hundreds of employers that participated and many more potential employees, and many companies did find somebody. So we will, you could stay tuned for that.
And will the businesses learn about how to participate in that program through Commissioner Britton's office?
Yes. One of the things we are probably going to do differently than the way the city did it is do some geographic targeting, probably do one up in the Northwest. And we would definitely be partnering with the commissioners to make sure, one, we connect with as many employers as we can. We will also be working with service providers to pre-screen candidates so that that the employers have a good pool of candidates to come from. But yeah, we don't have dates yet or anything, but it's definitely something we're all working on. Yeah, and Julie, it's really new, so we haven't talked to the commissioners about it yet, but it's coming. So
that's, I think, some of the great things about the work that you and the Bureau of Economic Development are doing. There's a lot of programs coming out so quickly. So I don't know if any folks here are property owners or, in that work with landlords and management companies. We just launched another round of emergency rental assistance, right? To help landlords recover some of that funding that some of the, the money that they've lost over the unpaid rent over the last moratorium. So that's just launched. So definitely continue to reach out to our office. Sign up for our newsletter. I'll plug that. And because we're constantly, as new information, we're putting it out in social media, through our newsletter, et cetera. And we, of course, we will continue to share it with Katie and Tinsley and the entire chamber team so that you guys have it first. So you have an opportunity to ask your questions and apply. But as always, our office is that resource to connect you, as was mentioned, to more quickly to some of the resources, as it can be challenging to navigate. Absolutely.
Any last questions from the group? Okay, hearing none. Julie, any last, I guess you kind of made your last minute wrap up. If there's anything else that you'd like to add, or Irene, if there's anything that you'd like to include?
Well, I guess I definitely heard the challenges and concerns about talent and finding, employees, and obviously it's hard to run a business without them. But are there any other types of support that you think would be helpful for you or for companies that you work with that you think the county should be providing or could provide? And if you don't, I'll just put my email in here so you could email me if you think of it later.
Absolutely. And again, as Irene mentioned, we want to be that advocate for our community. We want to hear those stories. We want to be able to get you the specific kind of support that you need, because what works here, in the northern region may not be what is needed in other parts of the county. And so making sure that the programs are the right fit is really important as well. This ARPA money, it's $1 billion. It's going to be a 4-year process. So there's time. But it's only $1 billion. And so we want to make sure that we're focusing it on the supports that are needed. Unfortunately, I can't believe I've ever said that in my life, but here we are.
Yeah, only $1 billion.
Only $1 billion.
But it's going to be a long process. It's going to be, we have to continue to advocate now and in the future. So we're here as that resource. Absolutely. And thank you so much, Irene. Thank you so much to everyone, all the members here. Thank you to Tinsley and Katie. Thank you to Barb and Liz, my colleagues, who helped coordinate this moment, and will absolutely be available should you guys have any questions.